associate professor at the School of Human Resources and Labor Relations at Michigan State University. Angela, thanks so much for being with us. First, let me ask you about this New Zealand proposal. They did the right thing in, the fight against coronavirus. So do you think they'll actually be equally victorious now in looking kind of inward to recover from the pandemic and help its economy recover? The point we need to say of this 4-day work week is to allow New Zealanders the opportunity to travel within New Zealand and boost the tourism industry.
I'm very optimistic about that move by New Zealand because I can say for myself, I'm stir crazy being in the house. And after all of the stressors that we've gone through, being able to have that time to break away from work, to disengage, and to refresh and restore ourselves is very important. And that's a really important thing for people to avoid stress and burnout in their job. And so I'm optimistic that this is going part and parcel with a holistic plan that they will have in order to improve their economy and to overall improve the well-being of the people in New Zealand.
Right. I mean, tourism is a big industry in New Zealand, but it's also a big industry, in the United States. And that's a country with one of the lowest annual holiday standards among developed countries. Do you think options like this would ever work in a country like the U.S. as a way to help boost the local economies and the tourism industry in particular?
I think so. I think that just even from the pandemic and people working at home, we're going to see a new normal, and people are going to expect better work-life balance. And part of that is being able to disengage. There have been other test cases. In New Zealand a couple of years ago, a company called Perpetual Garden did this, and their productivity with their workers went up and their job satisfaction went up. Same thing with Microsoft in Japan. Their productivity went up 40% when they did a 4-day work week. So I think it's something that's important. And we realize that you can't keep on heaping work on employees, and that also that when people have a time to break away, disengage, they're more likely to do things that are good for themselves and good for their community. So I think it's a win-win overall.
Okay, I guess, though, the concern, though, for business owners, would be if they have to give employees these 4-day work weeks, that will lower productivity. And, it would be very hard to ever change it back. I think that's going to be a major concern.
I agree with you. There's some things that some businesses do not lend themselves to a 4-day work week, like, for example, things in hospitality and tourism. Those don't lend themselves to a 4-day work week. But I believe that we've seen something over time called Parkinson Law, which I like to call the expansion of time principle. If you give someone 30 hours to complete a task, it's going to take them 30 hours. If you give them 40 to complete the same task, it's going to take them 40. We haven't seen reductions in productivity when you give people a shorter work week. Actually, we see the converse because people have a tendency to be more efficient with their time.
Okay, Angela, we're going to have to leave it there. Really, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.